Instagram alternatives come and go, and there have been many platforms promising us photo sharing apps that cultivate and create community, but for some reason, they always seem to fall short, die out, or not stick. Until now. Substack is fast becoming a place for photographers, writers, creatives of all disciplines to come and share with their audience in a direct, less algorithm-focused way. Substack is offering a great alternative to the short-form video platforms that we are all feeling very tired with at the moment. So whether you're already on Substack, you've never heard of it, or you are on the fence about starting one, this video will cover numerous tips on how to get started, how to grow, what to share, and what people are interested in on the platform, best practices, and anything else that you can think of that you might want to know about Substack. Before we get started with these tips, I wanted to let you know why I am making this video. A few weeks ago, I shared a video here on my YouTube channel covering the best ways to share your photography in 2025, and you guys were so responsive to this, specifically Substack. Since that video has been published, I have had over 1,000 people sign up to my Substack, and I have seen so many photographers start their own. This is really awesome that the platform is gaining so much momentum, but I am hearing from you guys in the community that you're a little bit confused on various different things about Substack. So I have been using Substack for about 3 years now, and I talk to a lot of other Substackers in the photography community. So I thought it would be a great resource if I shared these tips for you guys. So how does Substack work? Great question. Substack is a subscription-based platform that allows writers and creatives to share directly with their audience via an email newsletter. Substack has released many features over the last few years that have really fleshed it out as a fully fledged social media platform. It has its own app and interface, and it has integrated things like direct messaging and a notes feature, which is a feed-based thing that kind of looks like Twitter, X, or Threads. So you can do all the usual things on Substack like liking and messaging, commenting, all of that usual stuff that if you are a user of social media, I'm sure you'll be familiar with. Absolutely anybody can use and start Substack totally for free, which is awesome. However, you do have the option to monetize your content on the platform by setting up paid subscriptions and having certain content behind a paywall. But I will discuss this more later on in the video. So if you're wondering about whether or not you should do that, stick around so you can hear. So what's the difference between subscribing to someone on Substack versus following them on Substack? I was a little bit confused about this recently. So if you subscribe to someone's Substack, it means that their newsletter, every time they publish their newsletter, will get directly delivered to your inbox, which is great because it means that if you have somebody on your list, they're going to get your email. It's a lot more democratic than something like the algorithm on Instagram that isn't necessarily giving all of your content to the people who are following you. And I think that's why it's becoming so popular. The other way for people to interact with you is to follow you on the platform. And I am noticing people doing this a lot more lately. This means that you will see them pop up in the feed, and it kind of echoes more like an Instagram or a Twitter feel of people following you, and then you see their notes or, what they're restacking or commenting on, etc. So it's kind of nice to have both. And to be honest with you, I probably interact more with the direct email newsletters that I know and love and just want to read. A couple of reasons why Substack is so much better than a lot of the other social media platforms, especially for photographers, is that you can post your photos uncropped in whatever resolution you want. And that means that you have more control over how your images are being seen in the newsletter. You can post longer form content and create deeper connection, which I think is much more worthwhile and what we are moving towards as an internet society. It's extremely easy and intuitive to use. It's also worth mentioning that this platform is on the up. Whilst it's been popular for a long time, there's a lot of celebrities on there, big names that have Substack newsletters. It's definitely gaining a lot of momentum since the Meta announcements and just kind of everything that's going on in the world and all the unrest. I feel like people are seeing Substack as this nice, wholesome, safe place. A lot of people asked me, what should I share first on Substack? Before you post anything, I would suggest going on the platform and having a look around. I do have a recommended list that's attached to my Substack. So when you subscribe to me, you can also subscribe to my recommended list. And this is a function that is really great on Substack because it allows you to get in front of new readers. So definitely consider doing that. Before you post anything on the platform, I would definitely recommend going and just having a look at what other people are doing. So typing in things that you're interested in, looking at, my Substack, who I recommend, and going on there and just getting some ideas of like how people are structuring it, because it can be really, really different. Some people have more image-based Substacks. Some people are more interested in sharing stories and, long bodies of text. So get a feel for what's going on there, but don't get too bogged down with this stage, because when we research things, we can get really stuck in a spiral of then second guessing ourselves and procrastinating. It's more important that you just start posting, because it's very likely that your first post probably won't be that great and maybe a lot of people won't see it. So we just want to get that step out of the way. It's like my first YouTube video. Like, let's just get that done and move on, and then be creating videos like this 3 years later that are hopefully a lot better. If you are stumped on what to post as your first Substack newsletter, because it can be quite daunting, I would suggest simply introducing yourself as a photographer, sharing some of your work and maybe why you came to the platform, where you're at right now with your photography, just little facts about you. It's probably not going to be your best Substack, but it's a great place to start just so people can get a sense of who you are, what kind of photography you do, and whether or not they want to opt in to hearing from you more regularly. Once you get that out of the way, you can then work on finessing and working out the structure of how you're going to share, the frequency, all of those things, but just post something. Don't think about it too much. All right, so now we get into the more nitty-gritty posts where you are being a little bit more strategic and deciding like when you're going to post and what's going to be in your posts. I have a few tips here of things that I see people do, and I think that with a few small tweaks and listening to these tips, this will really help you to create an engaging newsletter and build a real community around your work on Substack. So one thing that's really good when you are writing your Substack newsletters is that the interface is very simple, and it's kind of not actually something that you can spend a lot of time trying to customize like other platforms, which I think is good because everyone's Substack kind of looks more or less the same. So it makes you focus on the actual content of what you're sharing rather than getting bogged down with trying to make it look perfect and pretty. There are plenty of features at the top when you're writing your Substack newsletter. You can create headings, you can do pull or block quotes, you can create dividers, all of these different things that you would expect on like Word or something like that. So make sure you use those to your advantage by adding hyperlinks, adding buttons to cool things that you're referencing, or leaving a button for people to comment and share the Substack, using all of the features that are available to you to make it look more schmick and engaging. Probably my biggest piece of advice here is do not write a huge body of text that just goes on forever and ever, because people's attention spans are not quite up to that. Maybe in the future they will be if you write an amazing Substack, but if you're just getting started, try and break things up and pepper in lots of images so that people have time to digest what you've said, and it's not just this huge intimidating wall of text that just goes on and on and on. The other very important thing that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about is titling. Like I said, you're in this beautiful world where there's like kind of no algorithm, and your content is getting directly sent to every single person who says that they want to follow you. How great is that? But these people are getting a lot of emails, as I'm sure you can imagine. So you need to make sure that your title isn't just like Ilford 400 photos. You need to make sure that you're putting your kind of journalism hat on and you're creating a title that is creating intrigue, or it's something that people are going to be really interested in, and make it something that you would want to click on. So maybe start paying attention to what are the emails from Substack or even YouTube titles that you click on and seeing what you can glean from this. You don't have to go into like full clickbait territory here or anything. I'm definitely not into that. But, you need to zhuzh it up a little bit or create something something that is making someone curious and wanting to actually open your email. I find it's generally better to have one central idea when you are writing your newsletter. So if you want to speak about one particular topic, it's going to cut through and be a lot stronger and more concise if you just make the video about that, not video, Freudian slip, newsletter about that one topic. So take this YouTube video, for example. I am sharing tips on how to grow a Substack as a photographer. I'm not going to all of a sudden start talking about like a million other things because it gets messy and confusing. So try and channel that just focused energy in your newsletters and pick one topic or one opinion or one film stock or one photo project, whatever it is, and talk about that and make sure it's really clear for people so they can get what you're saying. One caveat I would add there is that a popular way to write on Substack is like recommendations. So kind of people who have really great newsletters and they curate the internet for you. So they're like, hey, these are the cool things that I've been into this month or this week. Those things are obviously going to be a little bit looser, but they should all kind of have like a bit of a theme. Some ideas for you here, just to give you examples, would be something like 5 little known street photographers. So you might want to do a list and highlight 5 street photographers that you've found. They could be historical or they could be people that you know or you follow on Instagram and you want to highlight them. Maybe some of them have a Substack as well, which would be great because then you'll get some crossover. But just start thinking of, how you can share in that listicle form and then also in that kind of essay, hot take, opinion way, if that's your thing too, because I do see that being really popular on Substack. Most of my most popular issues have been something I have either thought about while I was having a shower or I've mentioned to my partner. And then I've thought, hey, maybe I'll flesh that idea out and just write about it on Substack in a very casual kind of way, like exactly how I'm thinking about it. Put some photos in there, make sure the title's good. And they've done really, really well. So it's definitely a place to share like your thoughts and feelings and opinions. Of course, for photographers, we all love to read about gear or maybe upcoming announcements in the photography world. So if that's your jam, I think Substack is a great place to write camera review or gear reviews or anything in that kind of technical realm as well. Maybe you want to share tips on developing film or just anything like that. There's kind of a place for everyone on Substack, and that's why it's so great and so popular. The other piece of advice I would give is to write in your tone. So don't feel like because you're on a writing platform that you need to write in this like formal article type way. I didn't finish school. My spelling and my grammar is definitely not 100%. And I still share on Substack and I've never had anyone really comment on that. I don't really feel like people are on there micromanaging other people's writing. I see loads of different things from like very academically written, scholarly kind of things to something that I would share, which is way more just like me writing in my tone of voice. And that's totally fine. So write how you feel comfortable because that is going to be sustainable. So how do we hang out on Substack? With all new platforms, you're kind of getting to know how things work, like what's the etiquette, like should I be doing this, should I not be doing this? And when I first got on there, I felt a bit like that. So I've put together a few different things here that might help you to navigate your way through Substack. Community is really at the core of Substack. So the more you're reading other people's publications and engaging with them, letting them know what you liked, sharing them and all of that, the more you will get that back. So be social and be interested and really engage on the platform in order to get that back and also just to enjoy it because there are so many cool, new, unique ideas on Substack. A very great and totally easy way to do this that won't take you much time at all is if you read something on Substack and you really like it, you can restack it. So restacking is basically just resharing something. You can do this just by pressing the little icon and it'll just share it on your notes feed. Or you can add a note, so restack with a note. And I think that's kind of nice because then you can kind of add this little byline as to why you enjoyed that particular publication. As I mentioned before, you can follow people on Substack and then you can see their notes popping up in the feed on the app and people will get notified when you have posted a note, etc., etc. So really utilize this function. I should really be doing this a lot more and it's pretty easy and nice on there. I don't really see many negative or bad comments on Substack. I don't know if you guys would agree, but it seems like overall a very positive place where people want to engage with each other, lift each other up and like discuss ideas. Everybody seems a lot more open on there than other social media platforms. So I really hope it stays that way. Notes are something that I see get a lot of traction. I see very high likes and comments on certain people's notes. So it's definitely worth building out and trying to post once every few days and, letting people know that you're there. It's a great way to just share casually. Maybe it's just a photo. I have noticed that Ali from 1 Month 2 Cameras shares a photo almost every day on there, and she literally just posts the photo, and it's really nice to see. This is a wonderful way to show people what you're interested in aside from the more long form newsletters that you're sharing. So it might just be photos of what you're doing during the day, other things that you like. You can embed and share videos in there, podcasts, so many things. It's just such a great little community that just to me kind of reminds me of how Tumblr used to be, where you post something and you want to signal to other people that, hey, I like this. And they're like, I like that too. And then you're like, let's be internet friends. The other thing that I recommend you use is the recommended list. So every time you subscribe to someone's newsletter, it will say, do you want to recommend this on your profile? And if I have read it and really liked it, I always say yes. So I have a list that's attached to my Substack, and it's a recommended list of other publications. This is a very integral way that people find each other on the platform. And since discoverability is a little bit harder than, say, something on like Instagram, recommended lists are a really important thing to focus on. When someone signs up to my Substack, they are asked if they would also like to sign up to my recommended list. So it'll automatically have you signed up to whoever is on my list, which is a really great way to get new people over. So consider doing this and curating a list of things that you really like and show other people in the community like, I'm recommending your Substack. I love it. And then I'm sure you'll get that love back. I had a lot of questions from people on how do I grow my readership on Substack. And this can be a little bit difficult because I'm not sure that the discoverability is quite there, but I do think it's getting a lot better. Substack actually supply you with story posts and square grid posts of your newsletter for you to share on other platforms. It's really clever the way they've done it, and I always make sure that I cross promote, and I think it's quite effective. Letting people know on Instagram and all your other socials that you have a Substack newsletter, it's free. Teasing the subject a little bit in a reel can be really great, and then putting in your caption that the rest of this is, over on Substack, or whether you just post those assets that Substack has made for you on your grid, and then whenever people find you, they can see, oh, this person's on Substack. I'm going to go to the link in their bio and click on it. So regularly sharing and marketing your Substack, leaving some time beforehand to maybe tease and say this is coming on Friday, sign up so you don't miss out. So people are primed and ready and on your email list, ready to get that new issue. Another great thing to do is to collaborate. So collaborate with other writers or photographers. Maybe you want to interview somebody who has a Substack and they're a photographer that you really, really like, and you can share their photos, ask them about, what they're doing, their practice, their process. They'll share it, and then everyone's sharing and everyone's finding out about everyone else. The other point is consistency. So without regular consistency, pretty much doing anything in life, you won't really get anywhere. But definitely with Substack, remember you are sharing long form ideas and connecting in a more deep, kind of meaningful way. So you really need to show people that you are there for them and you're showing up for them. I personally think that if you're sharing once a month on Substack, it's probably not enough. If you're comfortable with the readership you have and your intent is not to try and grow and you're happy with just the few people you have, that's totally fine. Share however much you want. But if you are wanting to grow in any kind of way, I think you at least need to be posting fortnightly newsletters. They don't have to be really long, refer to all of my other tips, keep it short and concise, spread your ideas out, but you definitely need to be sharing at least fortnightly to see any kind of traction on the platform. And the last tip would be to focus on the content. Sometimes when we are thinking about growing and getting more people to see our work and all of this, it's kind of just about making it good. So focus on the ideas and the things you want to say, how you want to be seen on Substack. Do you want to just share more photos and make it more photo specific? If so, double down on that, or make sure your ideas are interesting and, you're chatting with other people to get ideas of how people are feeling at the moment in the photography community and how can you comment on that. If you have good content, you have good ideas, you're showing up consistently and you're engaging with the community, you 100% will grow on Substack. To pay or not to pay. So earlier in the video, I mentioned that you can monetize your Substack, and this is something I see people do very successfully. I wouldn't suggest that you do this if you are a newbie and you have just started, unless you have a significant online presence somewhere else. So Matt Murray and Ali from 1 Month 2 Cameras both have Substacks, as does Wesley Verhoeven, and they all kind of have a presence outside of Substack that's already been established. So people know them, like them, trust them, and want to see more from them. So it makes sense that they would jump on Substack and have a paid section offering different types of things. If you are just someone who maybe isn't as well known, you haven't fleshed out your internet presence anywhere else or your real life presence, I wouldn't suggest coming straight out of the gate with a paid option because you may annoy people a little bit. And I think it would be a lot better if you built up an organic following over a certain period of time and really showed people what they're getting, offering them a lot of value for free. And then maybe after a certain amount of time, you can be like, hey, I'm going to be sharing extra things, or I've got this really great offering, or I'm going to start doing a podcast on here, but it's for paid subscribers. Then you can start offering that later down the track. I did used to have a paid section on my Substack and I got rid of it because really what I was sharing, I just wanted to share with everyone. I didn't really want to put anything behind a paywall because the more people that can see and hear like what I'm saying on the platform, the better. So it's a personal preference, but really if you're getting started, I would just focus on the free content and opening it up to everybody. At the time of making this video, I'm not sure if this will change, but when you set up your Substack newsletter, it will ask you to choose from a list of things that represent your publication. So you might have a cooking one, so you pick cooking. You might have a political one, so you pick politics. There is no photography section. There's a visual arts section, but there's no photography section. And I've seen other photographers on Substack posting about this on Notes, being like, please, Substack, make a photography one, because clearly there's a lot of photographers there. And I think that would help with discoverability, and it would help us to feel like we have a strong community on there. Strangely enough, there is a photography topic. So when you're on the feed and you want to break it up into different topics of what you're interested in, you can press photography and then see photography content, but you can't actually tell Substack that that's the section and topic that you're making your newsletter on when you set it up. So that kind of doesn't make any sense, and hopefully they fix that soon. Fingers crossed, hopefully Substack are listening to this video, but know that you can press visual arts and there are a lot of photographers on there. So jump on, have a look, let me know if you do. Mine is linked below if you want to look around for some inspiration, and you can subscribe and follow and or both, however you feel, and drop any more comments or questions about Substack below in the comments section.